Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
Hold my hand while I run.
Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
Stand by me.
Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
Search my heart.
Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
Good morning. Please be seated.
Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Brewster. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. For those of you who may be first-time visitors this morning, welcome. Welcome on this morning, which we make sacred by our presence together. Let's give a big wave to people streaming in. We're so glad you're here. I'm Reverend Jessica Clay, the minister of First Parish Brewster. Happy to be welcoming you to the service this morning with Kevin Badanis, our music director, and Lindsay Strauss, our worship associate. Our services are recorded. Are we recording this morning? Yes, we are. Our services are recorded and available on our YouTube channel midweek. We do ask that those over the age of 4 mask while in our buildings. That includes today, for the first time, we're going to be heading to the parish room for gathering time after worship. So please keep your masks on. There are cups there. I put a column in front of them to signify not the place to get a drink. We're not drinking or eating in our buildings as of yet. So please do remain masked, but you are invited to join us for gathering time after the worship in the parish room. Please silence your cell phones. We ask that all wear their name tags or fill out the sticker name tags in an effort to be more welcoming. And if you brought little ones with you this morning, welcome. We welcome the noises, movements, and mirth that little ones bring. Next Sunday, you're invited to join myself and worship associate Pat Stover as we lead a service about First Parish Brewster stories. Who has some First Parish Brewster stories here? Okay. Are you listening right now? Because I had about 3 people raise their hands. I know you're like, tune out announcements. Who has First Parish Brewster stories? That's what I thought. A lot of you do. We're not going to hear them all next Sunday, but we're going to honor some of you who do. It will be a time of storytelling and remembering why we love this community. All are welcome next Sunday at 10 a.m. In community news announcements, we are doing the Wampanoag Food Drive this November, so please join your Social Justice Committee by providing groceries or grocery gift cards to help the Wampanoag tribe, their food pantry. We've been very generous over the years in this effort. They have many families in need this year and have appreciated our help in previous years. So you're invited to drop off groceries in the alcove outside the parish room, and money will be collected today in the parish room and next Sunday as well. You can also mail a check to the church office with Wampanoag Food Drive in the memo. More info can be found in our weekly email, The Angle. Thank you for your generosity. So ends our announcements this morning. As I said, after the service, you're invited to join us in the parish room for a time of gathering. And if you have been thinking, you know what, this is the place for me. This is the community for me. I think I want to join this community. There is a table with our people from our membership committee. We'll be in there with our membership books, so you can speak to one of those members and join today if you would like. Welcome to service today. It is so good to be together.
You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be carefully taught.
Next Memorial Day weekend will mark 20 years since I began living full-time as a trans woman and found in this church my spiritual home. Since then, I have not only written my own history as a transgender woman, but along with many of you, have been witness to and had a front row seat to LGBT history as it was made. As a newly out trans woman, it is hard to put into words how it felt to join a church with such a history of activism for LGBT rights. Like many of you, I will never forget the unbridled joy and deep sense of pride I experienced on a historic day 18 years ago next Thursday, as I watched Linda and Gloria Bailey Davies, longtime members of First Parish, stand with their fellow plaintiffs before the cameras in Boston to celebrate the legalization of same-sex marriage in the Commonwealth, and later when I sat in this sanctuary as they exchanged their marriage vows. It was with this same sense of pride, accomplishment, and belonging that in November 2018, I celebrated with many of you the vote by fully 2/3 of the Massachusetts electorate to affirm my rights and those of all transgender and non-binary people to protection against discrimination in public places. Yet, as we know, the work for LGBT rights, for racial justice, for women's rights, for immigration justice is far from over. Crimes motivated by gender identity bias jumped by nearly 20% for the second year in a row in 2020. All too often, trans women of color continue to be victims of violence. And the number of anti-transgender bills introduced, passed, and signed into law by Republican governors has reached historic levels. So, as we light our chalice this morning, let us not only hold close to our hearts the history of our accomplishments in advancing LGBT rights, racial justice, justice for undocumented immigrants, and women's rights, but be ever mindful of the critical role we as individuals and as a church community can play in writing the next chapter in that history, so that we can continue to bend the arc of the universe towards justice.
Please rise in body and or spirit as we sing together in our gray hymnal number 349, We Gather Together.
We gather together in joyful thanksgiving, acclaiming creation whose bounty we share. Both sorrow and gladness we find now in our living. We sing a hymn of praise to the life that we bear. We gather together to join in the journey, confirming, committing our passage to be a true affirmation in joy and tribulation, when bound to human care and hope, then we are free.
I'd like to invite all of the children and youth to come on up front. You're going to sit on the floor in front of the steps. And also for anyone else in the pews, if you're feeling a little crowded, the balcony, especially the right side, is fairly empty. So if you need a little more space, you're welcome to head up to the balcony. So you can come on down and sit on the floor facing me. Perfect, perfect. You may want to come more over here because I'm going to be over here. I have to get all my props. Okay. Good morning, everyone. All right, so you're going to want to look at me. Although the people are a little more interesting, I'm guessing, maybe. Okay, so who knows what our theme is this morning? Does anyone know? Or what our theme is this month? Bless you. Anyone know what our theme is? Does anybody remember what happened last week? Remember what happened? I ate a candle. Yes, good job. To talk about history and how history changes depending on our interpretation of it. So today we're going to talk about the history that we hold here in this congregation. So we have different types of history today. So let's just pass this around. So this is one type of history. You don't need to open it, you can just pass it around. Tell me, is it heavy or is it light? What do you think? Light. Yep, you can keep passing it. This is not a, I'm not being paid by Amazon to promote them, I just want to say. If I had more time, I would have covered the box so you didn't have to see my shame. So this is a light box, and this is the history we like to carry and spread around. Like stories like Lindsay told just now about Linda and Gloria, stories about when we rebuilt the sanctuary. Who remembers that? Us coming together to do that. All of our fun memories. And then we have history like this. You want to pass that around? Hopefully. Do any of you have latex allergies? As I ask now after I've passed it. Keep passing it. And then Claudia, can you send it into the congregation away from the candle, please? So this is history. Now keep it up, everyone. Come on, teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. You didn't know you'd be interacting this morning, did you? Oh, someone can go pick it up. I believe in you. There we go. So this balloon represents some of those histories that take working together and effort to remember. But they're kind of fun to work to remember. Things like some of our traditions. Can anyone name a tradition we have here? Christmas Eve. Anyone else have a tradition? Ain gathering. Thank you, Pat. You must have just been psychically connected to me. Flower communion. Yes, exactly. Some of our stories around past ministers and like the hymns that we recently sung, things like that. Now, can someone come and try who wants to come and try and pick this up? Stand right over here. You're not carrying it anyway. Is it heavy or light? You can put it down now. We see how strong you are. Go ahead and put it down. Thank you. Is it heavy or light? Heavy. That's not going to get passed around like a balloon. So that represents some of the history that's hard to carry. Takes a lot of effort and energy. Sometimes we don't want to carry it, but it's important. The stories within are important for us to remember. So as we sing you out to go have some fun outside in the sunshine today, I want you to be thinking about, or I invite you to be thinking about the different kinds of histories in your family, and invite you all to think about the different kinds of histories in this congregation. And Kevin will lead us as we sing, Lucy will lead us as we sing our kids out. Yes, whoa, that's loud. Yes, that is a new song, but you did great with it. We'll keep singing it. We'll keep learning it. So now as we transition from a time of thinking about the histories we carry, we transition to a time of meditation and prayer. And we make space to name that this week is Transgender Day of Remembrance. So each year we mark this in our service to take a moment to acknowledge those transgender people who have been killed over the past year. So this year, 43 people have been killed. I will read their names, and then Ted will ring our bell, and we will take a moment for silence and some prayer. Tiana Deveria Alexander. Samuel Edmund Damien Valentine. Bianca Muffin Banks. Dominique Jackson. 50 Bands. Alexis Braxton, also known as Kimmy Icon Braxton. China Carrillo. Jeffrey J.J. Bright. Jasmine Kennedy. Jenna Franks. Adalyn Evans. Diamond Kyrie Sanders. Rihanna Pardo. Jada Peterson. Dominique Luscious. Remy Fennell. Tiara Banks. Jahara D'Alto Balenciaga. Natalia Smoot. Iris Santos. Tiffany Thomas. Carrie Washington. Thomas Harden. Whispering Wind Bear Spirit. Sophie Vasquez. Danny Henson. Serenity Hollis. Poe Delwyn Black. Oliver Ollie Taylor. Tierra Marie Lewis. E.J. Boykin. Taya Ashton. Shai Vanderpump. Miss Coco. Pooh Johnson. Zoella Martinez. Desaya Moni. Brianna Ulmer. Kier Solomon. Mel Groves. Royal Poetical Stars. Jesse Hart. And Joe Acker. We lift up these names, these lives into this circle of love. May their memories be a blessing. Will you join me in a moment of prayer? Following our prayer, we will have a moment of silence followed by the hymn Meditation on Breathing. We'll sing it through 3 times. Our Transgender Day of Remembrance prayer is from Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf. On Transgender Day of Remembrance, we remember those who have been murdered for being who they are, those who face violence on a daily basis, those who have lost loved ones, and those who worry for loved ones. May we come to a time when we cease to shame children around gender roles and expression, where we allow for freedom and exploration of identity and expression, and to a world that operates from love, especially when things are difficult and confusing. May all of us who live with the threat of violence find support, strength, community, hope, and safety from violence. Amen, and blessed be.
Breathing can be found in the Teal Hymnal 1009. Could I have all of the choir, tenors and basses, and anyone in the congregation who would consider themselves tenors or basses, sing this. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Continue. Everyone else. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe in, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, breathe out, breathe. Again, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Give up the fight for some other moment, some other life than here and now. Give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for other choices to make, other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other stakes. Purge the past, forgive the future, for each come too soon. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight. If only we keep waking up. This is the gift we have been given. These body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. Here we remember ourselves, all a part of it all, giving thanks and centering joy.
Each week we have the practice of splitting our offertory plate. Half of what is collected goes to the work of First Parish Brewster and half goes to an organization nominated by a member of this congregation. This morning's offering is a split plate with the Wampanoag Native Land Conservancy. The Wampanoag Native Land Conservancy was founded in 2012 in Mashpee and is the first native-run land conservation group east of the Mississippi. After centuries of hardship and economic struggle, it's only now that they can finally attend to the important work of protecting sacred spaces, habitat areas for our winged and four-legged neighbors, and other essential ecosystem resources to benefit Mother Earth and all human beings. All land is sacred in their eyes and worthy of special care. Thus, the reasons and interest in rescuing and preserving ancient ancestral village sites where their ancestors once lived. The Native Land Conservancy offers presentations of their native culture and history of the lands they are preserving during co-walking adventures open to the public, and you can see their website in our order of service. There's a couple of ways you can give today. You can text to give, the number's in your order of service. You can go on our website and give that way. You can also mail a check to First Parish Brewster and make it out to First Parish Brewster and indicate it's for the split plate, that's for those streaming, or you can put a check or cash in our offertory basket. However you choose to give today, we thank you for your generosity. The offertory will now be gratefully received.
That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see, I am, you are me. That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see, I am, you are me. That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see, I am, you are me. Don't you see that I am, you are me? Don't you see I am, you are me? That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see I am, you are me? That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see I am, you are me? That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see? I am you are me. It's a fact of atomic need. I am you are me. It's a fact of atomic need. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am, you are me. That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see, I am, you are me. That's what I said, I am, you are me. Don't you see, I am, you are me. That's what I said, I and you are me. Don't you see? I am you, you are me. It's a fact subatomically. I am you, you are me. It's a fact subatomically. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start.
I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body.
I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start. I am a part of you, you are a part of me, and so together we are one body. I am inside your head, you are inside my heart. We fit together, perfect from the start.
Thank you, choir. We are all connected. What a great message for this morning. The other day, I went to the Boston Symphony, and I sat in the mezzanine and I looked over the audience before the show had begun, the completely masked audience, and I had this moment of thinking, is this really real? Is this really our reality? And how long will this be our reality? And maybe you've had moments like that during this pandemic. Moments of going into the grocery store and seeing all of the masked people and thinking, is this going to be normal forever? And like many of you, when this pandemic first began, I was in a little bit of shock. A lot of it. And it was put one foot in front of the other and just keep moving forward. It was keep each other safe. And now here we are 20 months later, adjusting to life as it is right now. We are a part of history being made in this moment, as we have been for our whole lives. And recognizing you're a part of history being made in the moment is also recognizing that inherently within that is change. This change is constantly happening around us. And the human inclination is for things to be stable and normal. Yet, if anything, these past 20 months have taught us is that there is no normal. The 3.5 years of Trump's presidency before this pandemic was not normal. I know he had 4 years, but I'm counting part of it during the pandemic. All of the events, national and world, and in our personal lives before this told us that there is no normal. But living somewhere like Cape Cod can lull you into this sense of normalcy. I've talked about this before, but the patterns here are predictable. The seasons are predictable, although having a huge windstorm in late September is not that predictable. But you know when the tourists are going to come, for the most part. You know when they will leave, for the most part. You know when the shops are going to open with all of their seaside knickknacks and inflatable floaties on the side of the road. You can predict when shops are going to put up their signs saying open. My favorite is Hopkins House has really good cookies. When that sign is open, I always pull over. And you can predict when there are other signs saying closed, see you next spring is coming up. You can predict when mini golf is open and when it closes. You can predict when those cranberries are in season right now. There are rhythms of life here that you can get into that are comforting, and we are creatures of habit. We like our habits and our routines. Some of you I know sit in the same seat every single Sunday that you're here. Am I right? Yes. The choir's like, no, we have to adjust. So they're practicing change in action. And we have the routines of wearing our mask that's becoming a routine. Everybody check, are you wearing a mask? Is it over your nose? That is becoming a routine, that when you enter this place, you put a mask on. And for those of you who have your seat and you like it, when you come in and someone is sitting in your seat, how do you feel? Not the greatest, right? I about had a mutiny when we moved to 2 services, and I tried to block off the back pews to get people to come up during the second service. Anyone remember that? There was a little bit of a coup that happened. Because people like their routines. And we know that when kids are having a tough time, sometimes it's because their routine has been messed up as well. We learn it early. So I have a typical pattern I do every morning when I get up, and on the days where I'm rushed or I have to leave really early, that pattern is disrupted, and it's hard for me to have a sense of calm in it. In the midst of an ever-changing world, habits and routines give us grounding. They give us grounding in that change. And when change happens that throws us off, be it national change that will have historical significance for years to come, or a personal change, you have before, during, and after. Many of us have had before, durings, and afters this year around things like the Capitol Hill riots, the inauguration of Joe Biden, when the vaccine first came out, and we thought we were in the after, and we thought it looked good. Remember that? And in the months since, we replay those memories, we replay what life was like, and we rely on memories to remind us of the way things were, to help inform the way things might be, and to help us hold history and to take action to affect the future of our histories together. But the research has shown that the very act of remembering can change our memories of a thing. According to an article by Greg Miller in the Smithsonian Magazine, scientists have long known that recording a memory requires adjusting the connections between neurons. So each memory tweaks some tiny subset of neurons in the brain. Does anyone know how many neurons we have in our brains? Lots. 100 billion. And it changes, each memory changes the way they communicate. Neurons send messages to one another across these narrow gaps called synapses. And a synapse is like a bustling port, complete with machinery for sending and receiving cargo, neurotransmitters, specialized chemicals that convey these signals between neurons. And all of this shipping machinery in these ports is built from proteins, the basic building blocks of cells. And each time you retell a memory, you retell a story, it's altered in some way. And so those synapses change. So short-term memory is they just go through the synapses and then they're gone. Whereas long-term memories, they actually have to be built into your brain synapses. Your brain has to make new proteins to hold these memories. And research has shown that these proteins can change depending on how you retell the story, how you remember it, that you're actually shaping your memories. And you might be wondering at this point in the sermon, why does this even matter? Because when we have these big national events happen, there are plenty of stories, depending on where you get your news source, that will corroborate our long-term memories to help provide evidence of the event or counteract what we know to be true. But in our personal lives and our personal histories, we can get into trouble when we experience something with another person. And often each of us will have different memories of how the interaction went down or what the other person said. Have you ever had that? Therefore, this is an invitation to curiosity, an invitation, as I said last week, to remembering that sometimes it's not about being right. It's about cultivating relationship and relying on our shared values to guide us how to move forward. So I invite you now to call to mind something big and momentous that is a memory of yours. One of those memories where you remember where you were when you heard about this thing, not even this year, your whole life. So think of what is a big, momentous memory? So right now your brain is making those synapse connections, telling you the story of where you were and what you were doing that day. Rosalind Cartwright says, "Memory is never a precise duplicate of the original. It's a continuing act of creation." So do you all have those events in your heads? Give me some of them. Kennedy assassination. What'd you say, John? Son's birth. 9/11.
I had all my hair cut off and I walked home with my ponytail and my dog didn't like me.
Okay, a significant haircut story. Other people. Princess Diana's death. Barack Obama's election. Donald Trump's election. What about one from the balcony? There are people in the balcony, I will tell you. Catherine? They already said it. Okay. So, when you take a minute and you move back from these big memories, like I did at the symphony, to take a minute and reflect on what's normal now and reflect on what you've gone through, it instills a sense of awe and wonder. We have seen some pretty amazing things in our lives. We've seen heartbreak, we've seen joy, and everything in between. It's a reminder of our own resilience, our own strength, and our own shared humanity. People down here named stories that people in the balcony experienced. And these events you just shouted out, these memories can invite awe and wonder that you experience them in your lifetime. And long after all of us are gone, people will be reading about some of these in history books. But sometimes we get so stuck in resisting that change that happens around us, resisting the loss that comes with change, resisting that we don't have control over what happens in the future, we end up grasping. And that grasping can come from wanting to know what the future is going to be like. My magic 8-ball is not that predictable. And we are in predictable patterns of routine. And when we look out beyond this week or the next or this month or the next, when we look out into the years ahead, we want to know with some predictability the simple but comforting things like, when can we have actual coffee again in the parish room and some snacks together? When will we feel comfortable going over to people's houses and not having to ask their whole medical history before figuring out if we want to sit down for a meal inside with them? And then some of the bigger things like what will happen in the next presidential election? What will happen for people on the margins as they continue to fight for justice in their communities? And what's our role in it? And sometimes we can get so lost in those questions of wondering, and we get stuck in a fear mindset. And apathy can take over, and we lose our energy to keep committing ourselves to the work of cultivating relationship with care and integrity, of working for justice in the world, working to dismantle the ways that racism and other oppressions show up in our own lives. Because just as much as we can imagine a future filled with fear, we can also imagine a future filled with hope. It just depends on where we're orienting our view. And it depends on which memories, which events we're replaying to guide our days. That doesn't mean not to relive the hard events of our lives, but it is an invitation to notice where our energy is going, what we're spending our energy on. So we have a month and a half left of 2021. And in a couple of weeks, we will be beginning Advent. Advent is a time of waiting, a time of growing darkness, a time of rich possibility to see what will emerge on the other side. And naturally, towards the end of each year, we reflect on the year that we have had. We reflect on what our intentions were at the beginning of this year, what our hopes were, and what we've gone through together as a community, as a nation, and what you've gone through in your families. There's been joy and sorrow, and through it all, I hope that you felt held by this community. As you make your way through the end of this year, holding history not with closed, grasping hands, but with open palms, I hope there are some moments where you're able to ponder the miracle that is being alive, where you're able to ponder those small miracles of your life. They don't have to be these huge, significant historical events, those small miracles that happened to you over this last year, of being able to feel your pet's fur under your hands, the feeling of a baby squeezing your finger, the taste of a fresh cup of tea on a cold morning, remembering your first pond or beach swim this past summer, thinking of all the bike rides you've taken and will take through the end of the year, thinking of all the political activism you might have done this year. My hope is that you will have moments of gratitude for how you have been transformed by these small little moments of miracles that happen in our everyday lives that so often we don't take time to notice. One cannot hold and grasp history, as I've said, or relive our memories without a sense of awe at these moments that just take your breath away. I remember this past summer I went swimming at Walden Pond with a friend of mine and her children. And as we were walking down to the pond, her 3-year-old daughter took my hand in hers. And I had this moment of feeling that tiny hand in mine, and it grounded me. It caused a hitch in my throat. The tiny miracle of this child who barely knew me, trusting me enough to hold my hand, to let me help guide her to safety. Maybe you've had moments like this year. And I also felt the huge miracle of joy and wonder when we gathered here in the sanctuary for the first time since this pandemic began this past July. Many of you were here for that service. And maybe that feeling was present for some of you when you came back in September for our in-gathering service. Or maybe this Sunday is your first Sunday back. Or maybe you're just visiting us this Sunday, and this feels like a miracle in itself. We are making history together, dear ones. Isn't that a miracle? So moving back and taking that big picture of history, taking a big picture of the moments you're in right now, can help to ground you for what is to come. Jack Kornfield famously said, "Be here now." And I truly invite you to be here now and to give thanks for that. I give thanks for you. I give thanks for you who are streaming at home. I give thanks for all of you who are still saying yes to this community after all we have gone through together. We are far from perfect, but that doesn't mean, and that means all of our memories aren't filled with joy, but we have many that are joy-filled. But it does mean that we're choosing each other on this journey. We're saying, you are my people. You are the people I want to journey with through whatever the future holds. You are the people I want to create memories with, knowing that we're all going to have different versions of these memories. You are my people and I am yours. You are the people I want to make history with. For this I give thanks, today, tomorrow, and in the days ahead. Amen, and blessed be.
Our final hymn this morning is in your gray hymnal. It's 295. Please rise, body and or spirit.
Benediction today, I invite you to turn and face each other. Both sides of the balcony, you can either look at each other or look across the way, whichever falls to you. Turn and look at each other and say to someone, you are my people.
You are my people.
It doesn't mean touch them. Remember, we're doing consent. Not everyone wants to be touched right now. Now look at someone else and say, you are my people. Now look at someone else and say, you are my people.
You are my people.
And don't forget it. Go from this place in peace and love, and may you find yourself to be known in this community and all the communities you journey in. Amen.